Well, we have an exciting guest to bring on the show. It's Edward Zyszkowski, CEO of Personal Data Space. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you today.
Well, first off, how did you ever get into the space that you're in today? What's your background? What were you trained in?
I'm probably one of the most antique AI people around. I started working on neural networks when it was still an idea related to neuroscience a long, long time ago. And I built one of the first practical neural networks in the early days of the space shuttle. I also built robots for the space shuttle. So that was my background. I actually studied both as an engineer and as a medical doctor, and then wound up being in robotics. Many years later, I worked for a company called Thinking Machines, which was really at its time in the late 80s was one of the highest funded VC funded companies out there. And we built supercomputers designed for AI. Of course, back then the technology was nothing compared to what we're doing today with NVIDIA systems and data centers. Years later, I started a company. I sold it to IBM. IBM used my technology to build Watson AI, which was one of the also early AI endeavor for consumer AI and business to business AI. So that's my background in technology. And I also partnered with an individual for Personal Digital Spaces whose background is in civil liberties and protecting people's privacy. So it's kind of a Reese's peanut butter cup of two great things, AI and also respecting individual rights and individual privacy. And that's where we are today.
Okay. Well, that sounds really interesting. So I know in your business, you're looking at digital assets. And as you mentioned, how to protect people like me and the digital assets that I have from whom? From hackers?
Yeah, it's not really as much protection. It's really about allowing you to control and manage the rights associated with data that either is data about you or data that you create as an individual. So it really allows you to be a participant in the AI economy by being able to control how your data is used by large language models, by other AI systems, and being able to participate in a sense from a marketplace perspective. You're able to effectively treat your data, like I said, whether it's data about you or data that you create, as an asset that you can then utilize with appropriate terms and conditions, appropriate level of contracts and licensing to be able to participate and make money in this world of AI.
And how does Personal Digital Spaces do that? How do
We
you
do is
protect me?
Yeah. So basically, the concept is very much like if you were homesteading a farm back in the early days of the Wild West. You have to put a fence around your farm so that your livestock doesn't run away, or some predators come in. So fencing is part of it. That's a protection piece.
Mhm.
But once you protect it, then you want to be able to monetize it. And so we offer the governance layers for allowing you to essentially create a deed of ownership, secure your assets in the legal context. We provide legal mechanisms that allow you to protect your assets. And then we also offer the ability for you to participate in a marketplace. So we actually do very similar to an order book, bids and asks on data that can be discovered and operated on by AI systems.
Wow, that's really interesting. So I can actually, if I was to create a book or a blog post, I could actually post it to your system, and somebody might want to pay for it.
Is if it's a website that you operate today, like for example, the website that was just referenced in this program, the Money Matters TV website, you can
Mhm.
create a license mechanism. It's called OpenRSL. We introduced that recently. OpenRSL allows you as a website owner to stipulate terms and conditions for using the content, and that either by people, but more likely by AI bots, either for scraping or for scraping used for training or scraping used for inference. So either on a one-time basis or on a continual basis, you can get paid royalties for the content that your website offers, and that allows AI systems to be better informed about that content.
So I saw some interesting projects on your website in the healthcare space, and then separately, more interesting maybe to a lot of people would be in the media and entertainment space. Can you speak a little bit about Taylor Swift in particular and how you're
So, Taylor Swift and Matthew McConaughey and others have been going out there, and they have a, whole army of attorneys and others who can protect their name, image, and likeness and go ahead and, they have their own, essentially their own corporations that help them. But for the average actor or the average celebrity, we work very closely with organizations like SAG-AFTRA and others who are trying to come up with universal standards that allow everyone to protect their name, image, and likeness. In fact, SAG-AFTRA has been working on a bill that called the No Fakes Act that provides protection and compensations for people, not just who are celebrities, but anyone for that matter. So that's how you protect your content if you're a Taylor Swift or whoever. For us, we also work a lot with book publishers as well as film companies, record companies, and others in a way that allows them to register and effectively list their assets. Again, very similar to like a stock exchange or a commodities exchange. One of our other founders was an early developer of the underlying IT infrastructure for the Chicago Merc. And so think of these AI data as commodities that you can then potentially put out there and trade.
And speaking about AI, do you actually think the AI companies will pay for access to data?
That's a great question. In a sense, yes, they are already paying for it indirectly, right? When they collect and hoover up the entirety of the internet, they go through massive amounts of IT overhead to sort out the good stuff from all the bad stuff. And believe it or not, there's a lot more dirt than diamonds in the internet. So there is a cost to them. So if you can take and curate information and provide them ready-made answers, it appreciably reduces the workload on their data centers, and it provides a lot of value. So for us, what we do is, because the AI companies today, without changing anything they're doing, are already scraping the internet looking for current information. If you can allow them to discover information that's provided by your systems, they're more likely to use that probabilistically, and therefore you're able to participate in that relationship. If you want, in many ways, think of it as like a paywall. And the AI companies do go through paywalls to access, current information. OpenAI has done many multi-million-dollar deals with various digital content producers, and the other AI companies have done that as well.
So again, I'm going to use myself as a reference point. If I'm a customer of an AI company and I pay up to buy the premium version, like the agentic AI or even the next gen after that, and suddenly there's all these firewalls, so I can't really use what I paid for. How do we fix that problem?
Yeah, I think, so our system is designed for, it's almost like a prepay model. The AI companies have a certain amount of credits to hit your content, and they simply reduce that, they debit, if you will, those credits. So this is all done behind the scenes. You don't experience any sort of slowdowns or any change in how you interact with those systems today.
Well, I could still benefit from paying up for the premium system.
You
And,
do.
and what about the major AI lawsuits that are going on? How do you think that will impact your company? Positive, negative, neutral?
Yeah, for us, we're keeping an eye on those things. Most of these lawsuits are still being adjudicated. Some of the initial findings have been interesting because some of them have determined that some of the scraping is effectively fair use, but the way the scraping was done might have been violating copyright laws. For us, copyright is important. It's a way that people have protected their content for centuries, pretty much since their origin of our country. However, in a world of AI, it's not something that, unless it's machine readable and available for the AI systems to understand what the terms and conditions for use are, it doesn't really help. And so there's an emerging standard called RSL, called Real Simple Licensing, really simple licensing. And we created something called Open RSL, which is an implementation of that enables you to effectively, affect copyright type terms and conditions without actually going through a lawsuit.
So how does that work in the medical profession where there's electronic medical records?
Yeah, so healthcare is particularly interesting. Healthcare is not just governed by, regular laws of content like copyright. There's HIPAA and other things that are designed to
Mhm.
protect individuals from having their data breached. We work a lot with healthcare institutions that are trying to provide that information uh, to third parties that might be operating AI systems in such a way that is compliant with HIPAA. And so we handle, again, the legal aspects of the licensing on a per patient and a per record basis.
Okay. And for the people who are watching this show today, what should they do to protect their content?
I mean, that's a great question. There's a simple answer. Is for the most part, if you're interacting with a chatbot, consider that an open sieve of your information. Don't share intimate information. A lot of people get convinced that they're talking to a friend or someone else who's a confidant. That's not the case. That data does wind up influencing the model, and some of it can be leaked and discovered by others. So the simple answer is, be mindful that you're working with large data company. These AI companies are in fact very large data companies, and everything you put in there into your chatbot interactions is potentially open to the rest of the world through those AI models. So be aware of that. And the other aspect, and a company name sort of implies that, is to allow individuals, you mentioned earlier, agents, is build, we allow you to build your own agentic system where you run it locally, you control those agents, and those agents have access to your personal data and act almost as intermediaries. Think of it as like a personal attorney or a personal accountant that knows a lot about you and acts as essentially an ombudsman between you and other entities that might need to interact with you. That's what we permit on an individual basis.
So do you do a business to business only, or you also do business to consumer? Like, could
I
I
mean,
buy any?
we provide infrastructure. So for the most part, as a company, we sell to businesses, but the businesses we sell to are offering their products to consumers. So we offer infrastructure. Think of us as a Home Depot that sells all kinds of
Okay,
tools and materials, and then actual homes, which are then occupied by
right.
individuals, are built by our partners.
So then who should I go to purchase what you're offering?
Yeah, I think, well, the easiest thing is if you're working with a website operator, open RSL available to you today. And so that website operator can add that mechanism directly into and it's an open standard. So it's free, it's downloadable and so on. They can add that to your website. And as far as the agentic stuff, we're working with a variety of different startups that are trying to introduce products that will provide you with those personal applications.
Okay, great. Well, we're ready to wrap up our show. So leave our audience with what you think is the most important thing they should take away from what your company offers them.
I, Well, I'll talk about AI in general. I think AI is an incredible sea change in the human experience. And what we try to do is we try to really democratize this really important economic and technological change in the world in such a way that individuals can be equal and active participants in the benefits of this economic change.
Well, thank you very much, Edward, for being on our show today. I think your company is going to really blossom in our disruptive world that we have today with AI and blockchain and crypto.